The courtroom was smaller than Mara had expected. She had built it up in her mind over the months of filings and delays and rescheduled hearings. Imagine something cavernous, something that would make the whole thing feel proportionate to what it had cost her. Instead, it was a mid-sized room with fluorescent lighting and chairs that scraped the floor when people stood. The kind of room where ordinary things became official. She arrived 20 minutes early. Her attorney, a quiet woman named Delgado, who communicated mostly through stillness and the occasional raised eyebrow, was already there. They did not speak much. There was nothing left to review. Gerald arrived with two people Mara didn't recognize, younger, suited, carrying folders. He looked well. He had always looked well. It was one of his genuine talents, looking like a man who had never been wrong about anything. He did not acknowledge her when he sat down. That, too, was familiar. The will had been rewritten 14 months after her mother died. Mara had not contested it immediately. She had needed time to understand what she was reading, and then more time to understand what it meant, and then more time still to decide whether it was worth it. The document cited estrangement. It cited abandonment. It used her silence against her in the way that silences can be used, as evidence of absence, which is easy to prove, rather than evidence of anything more complicated, which is not. Gerald's attorney was precise. He presented a timeline, phone records, or the absence of them. Holiday photographs in which Mara did not appear. A letter she had written years ago that said things she had meant at the time and now existed permanently in print as exhibits. She listened. She had read all of it before. What she had not expected was how confident Gerald looked while it was being presented. Not anxious, not defensive, settled. The way a man looks when he believes the room already agrees with him. He glanced at her once during the photograph portion and said something low to his attorney. She didn't catch the words. She caught the register, dismissive, faintly amused, then louder, just enough. Hope she enjoys whatever she's been doing because there's nothing here for her. It was a strange thing to say out loud in a courtroom during a proceeding. His attorney touched his arm. He settled back. Mara laughed. It was a small sound, involuntary almost, not cruel, not performed, just a sound that escaped because the alternative was something she didn't want to give the room. Gerald turned. What's funny? She didn't answer. He looked at her the way he had looked at her for most of her adult life, as though she were a problem he had already solved. I asked you a question. The judge called the room to order. Delgado had submitted a supplemental filing 3 days before the hearing. She had not made much of it. Neither had Mara, who had signed what she was asked to sign, and trusted the process the way you trust a process when you have run out of the energy required to distrust it. The opposing attorney was mid-sentence. Returning to the timeline, the absences, the documented pattern of estrangement. When the judge raised her hand, the room went quiet. She looked down at the papers in front of her. Then she looked up, not at either attorney, but directly at Mara. Are you the woman who filed the 2019 guardianship petition for Eleanor Voss? The name landed differently on different people in the room. For Delgado, it was a confirmation. For Gerald's attorney, it was clearly something he was searching his memory for and not finding quickly enough. For Gerald himself, Mara watched it happen. It was a name that meant something personal and something he had not thought about in years, arriving now in a professional context he had not prepared for. Eleanor Voss was Mara's maternal grandmother, Gerald's mother-in-law, a woman who had developed significant cognitive decline in the years following Mara's mother's death and who had been moved quietly and practically to a memory care facility in a suburb 40 minutes from where Mara lived. Gerald had visited twice in the first year, then once, then not at all. Mara had filed for guardianship not because she wanted control of drove anything, but because someone had to, and the social worker had explained what happened when no one did. She had held that role for 4 years. She had managed the facility paperwork and the medication reviews and the quarterly assessments. She had sat with Eleanor on Sundays when Eleanor did not know who she was and on occasional Tuesdays when she did. She had not told her father about any of it. There had been no reason to. It had not been about him. Eleanor had left a notarized statement with the facility's administrative office written during a period of clarity witnessed by 2 staff members entered into the court record 3 days ago by Delgado. The judge read a portion to herself. Then she set it down. Gerald's confidence did not shatter. It drained. There is a difference. Shattering is loud. Draining is slow and visible and harder to recover from in a public room. His attorney leaned over. They whispered. Gerald's jaw tightened in the way. Jaws tighten when a man is recalculating something he thought he had already calculated. He had not known about the statement. He had not thought to look for one because it had not occurred to him that there was anything to find. He had assumed the years of her silence were the whole story because he had not checked what the silence contained. Mara kept her hands folded on the table. She did not look at him. She did not need to. The proceedings continued. The ruling would not come today. These things take weeks, sometimes longer. But the room had changed shape. The judge's attention had redistributed. The documents were in the record now, and the record was public, and nothing that had been entered could be unentered. She thanked Delgado in the hallway. They spoke briefly about next steps and timelines and the practical things that follow a hearing that has gone better than expected without yet being over. Gerald did not speak to her on the way out. She drove to the facility out of something she couldn't name. Not sentiment exactly, not grief. The building looked the same as it always had. She sat in the parking lot for a while with the engine off, thinking about Eleanor and about the Sundays and about the particular quality of a person's face when they remember you after they have forgotten almost everything else. She had done the thing. The thing was in the record. She started the car in.